A mother's path to financial freedom is my talk today. I'm so sorry, I'm like, and when you're thinking about a mother's path to financial freedom, you gotta take a lot of things into account. Dr. Heavenly certainly addressed some of them. Obviously, you need to have financial planning. You need to have, if you have a man, that's certainly helpful. But for those of us who didn't have a man, or don't have a man, that's a totally different picture. Me, I call myself a recovering single parent because I was a single parent for many years. I'll go back a little bit. I was born, in Pennsylvania, and I was born into the Nation of Islam. And then my parents divorced, and I became a child of a single parent. We grew up. I was in Christianity after that, went back to the Nation of Islam at the age of 18, and then a Christian again later. And had many challenges growing up with a single parent and also being a single parent. So my kids and I, we struggled with things like homelessness. We had all sorts of challenges. And I married somebody who was actually very abusive. So when you're thinking about a path to financial freedom for single parents, or moms, I know there's a lot of you that are single in here, you gotta think about things such as physical violence, your health. Obviously, heart disease is the #1 killer for women. There's a lot of things you gotta put into play when you're thinking about a path to financial freedom. How do I tackle that with these challenges? How do I tackle that if I have to worry about heart disease, if I have to worry about domestic violence, and if I don't have any money? Like Paige was just saying, if you're broke, you're gonna attract broke, and you do attract broke, unfortunately. But for me, I speak to single parents. So for now, I'm going to speak to this group. After I recovered from being a single parent, I started teaching single parents how to use tax refunds, life insurance, and inexpensive real estate to build wealth. And those things are critical. I have a book. It's called 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Parent, and I have it over there on the table for those of you who are interested. And for single parents, I just want to address this woman earlier who was speaking and said, I've got 2 businesses, I have a job, thank you. I have 2 businesses, I have a job, and I've got children to raise. And that's a typical challenge for single parents. And the challenge isn't necessarily that you have all these things on your plate. The challenge is usually the shame and the guilt you're struggling with in the process of doing all those things. The 2 businesses, God bless you, girl. The job and all those things, you can manage it. The problem is you're probably micromanaging your children at the same time. And if you kind of backed off a little, you could work on those other things. Excuse me. Let me drink some water. Thank you. So we're going to talk about a couple of single parents today. A couple single parents who navigated the process of single parenthood on a path to financial freedom. The first one, is everybody familiar with Erin Brockovich? Anybody not know who Erin Brockovich is? Okay. Erin Brockovich gave, respect to single parents, and she drew national attention to what it meant to be a single parent. One of the things she identified was that, one, she was twice divorced, she was a single mother, and she had 3 kids. And she showed us the lack of respect that is around for single parents. She got into an accident, and all this stuff is true. I read the book and everything. I've met her in person. She is the real deal. And all these things identified the challenges that single parents have. And the biggest challenge was, 1, she didn't know how to make money. 2, she's trying to raise her kids in the midst of poverty, bugs, all sorts of issues she was having at the same time, and she didn't have a job. And how many know it's stressful to try to raise 3 kids by yourself without a job? Extremely stressful. And, when I talk to single parents, I talk to them about sort of 3 foundation things that are necessary in order to build wealth. And I'm going to tell you, Erin Brockovich is the first one we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about somebody else who showed these 3 things. One of the things Erin Brockovich did was she had sort of these dynamic relationships that appeared out of nowhere. They seemed like they're just happening. but they're not accidental. There's no coincidence here. She went and had an accident, got hit by a doctor, and the next thing you know, she was in the office of Ed Masry, who changed her life forever. And how did he change her life? He gave her a job, she didn't get respected in the office, and she got fired. Anybody ever get judged based on how you looked and the things you wore? They thought because she wore some short skirts that she was a hussy. But she wasn't. She was living in California where it's hot and modeling after the Kim Kardashians, I would imagine. So she wasn't. She was focused. She wasn't hanging out partying. She was just trying to raise her kids. So they judged her, and as you all can remember, very colorful language if you saw the movie. Very colorful. So the reality is, for single parents, sometimes you get to that point. Anybody else get to that point where you're like, I'm gonna, rip somebody's head off? She was at that point. You just get so tired. You're sick and tired. You're trying to raise your kids by yourself. You're alone. That was her situation. But she fought through it, and she met somebody that was very valuable, Ed Masry. Had he not given her that chance, she would not have the opportunity that she had. Excuse me. Make a long story short, this will be a long one. She started out broke, he fired her, she was working hard. In the end, she ended up with a $2 million check. And I'm going to explain to you how that happens. $2 million check, that's real life, really happened. To this day, she's still worth about $40 million or so. And she goes around, she's an environmental activist. And when you are a single parent, or any parent, a mother, and you're trying to get on a path to financial freedom, there's a few things that you have to do in order to get on that path. One, you got to identify your purpose. And this is something that Erin did. She didn't know what it was at the time. She was just trying to help people. She was just caring, just trying to take care of her family. Many times when you're on a path to financial freedom, you're not even thinking about that. Most mothers aren't even thinking, I need a path to financial freedom. They're just thinking, how do I take care of my family? How do I pay my bills and save some money? But you really want to be thinking, what is my purpose? And your purpose, then you need these components. It needs to be the purpose, your relationships, and then suddenly opportunity occurs. So for her at the time, her purpose was just, I got to make some money. She found that Ed Masry came into her life. It was a relationship. And then the opportunity came. She found something that created her a millionaire lifestyle. And this is what happens.